What's going on, guys? My name is Kalen Vasher, and you are now tuned into another episode of the Kalen Vasher Show. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody listening. As always, you guys are much appreciated. And to those that want to connect with me and talk anything basketball or sports in general, please feel free to hit me up on social media using the links down below and the ones that are in the description for those of you watching on YouTube. Now, Game 2 has now just finished up as the Warriors came away with a 107-88 victory to even up the series one apiece, as we head back to Boston for Games 3 and 4. This game just looked like a dominant performance any point after the second half. If you watch this game from the third quarter on, you would have thought the Warriors were up the entire game because the Warriors just took control. They played great defense. They hit big-time shots. Jordan Poole hit a crazy half-court shot right before the fourth quarter. So everything was just clicking for them. Basically, everything that they couldn't get going in Game 1, they did get going in Game 2 tonight. So we're just going to talk about a few things tonight. Not going to be here long, but I know that I do want to get this recap out for you guys because this series is exciting. I'm very hyped to see who comes out on top, who's going to be the NBA champion this year. And so let's go ahead and get into the recap. So for starters, the main thing that I want to talk about is kind of the same thing that I led with in the Game 1 recap, and that's going to be the role players. Man, the role players for Boston are really looking like they're going to be the difference makers. The role players are looking like they're either going to be the reason the Celtics win an NBA championship or they're going to be the reason that they lose in the finals. Because in Game 1, you had the combination of Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and Derek White all combined for 65 points. Tonight, they only combined for 16. 16. You go from 65 points out of three guys to 16 tonight. And I'm not just talking about they put in, an equal amount each. Al Horford had 2 points tonight. He's a starter. He played majority of the game. And Marcus Smart only had 2 points tonight, which means they combined for 4, and Derek White had the remaining 12. And a lot of those were garbage time, fourth quarter. The game was already decided. So the trio that they need outside of your known scorers in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you just did not get. And speaking on Jaylen Brown, he just went absolutely non-existent cold anywhere after the first quarter. He had 13 points in the first quarter. He started off hot. I think he was 5 for 6 in the first quarter, and one, a couple threes. He was hot. I think he finished with 17 points. And then Jason Tatum had a team-high 28 for them tonight. He finally got out of his slump. But even inside the three-point line, he didn't necessarily shoot the ball too well. I know from on the outside of the three-point line, he went 6 for 9, but he only went 2 for 10, anywhere inside the three-point line. So, I feel like Boston has a lot that they need to figure out. They got killed on the dribble drive tonight, too. That's another thing that I want to touch on really quickly. The dribble drive, there was many times that I saw Steph and Jordan Poole beat the guy that was defending them, which caused the backside guy to help on defense for the Celtics, was led to easy dump downs, easy layups and dunks for guys like Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and so on and so forth. The Boston Celtics didn't necessarily play terrible defense or bad defense tonight, but it's just when you needed them to step up, because this could have been the game that could have sealed the series, quite frankly. You go up 2-0 to commanding 2-0 series lead and head back to home court where your fans are going to be rocking, your fans are going to be going crazy. I feel like this could have been a huge momentum boost for them, but they totally just had a terrible second half. Going into halftime, I believe it was a 2-point game, and then just after the third quarter, I think they were down as much as like 25. It just was not a good showing for them all second half, which is something that I feel like they really could have used. Like I said, the three-man lineup or the three guys that is really going to make a difference for them is going to be your Marcus Smarts, your Derek Whites, and your Al Horfords. And the main difference that I saw between them tonight and what I saw from them in Game 1 really was just their aggressiveness. They didn't look as aggressive. They didn't look as willing to take open shots and even a little bit contested shots. You, as a shooter, when you have enough room to take open shots. And I feel like in Game 1, they had the green light. They were feeling good. They really came out with nothing to lose, nothing. They were just playing basketball. And tonight, it seemed like they were a little bit more hesitant. Al Horford, I don't think I saw him take a single three at all tonight. Marcus Smart, he played really good defense. He had some good hands that he was using on the defensive end. Derek White had a few blocks. But as a whole, they just didn't seem as confident as you need for your role players to be. Because like I said in episode 1, you know what you're going to get from Jason Tatum and you know what you're going to get from Jaylen Brown. But from the guys like Peyton Pritchard, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Al Horford, the guys that necessarily they can give you a really good game like we saw from Al Horford, who gave you 26 points in game 1. He also came out and gave you 2 points tonight. So I think that's going to be the difference between in this series. If those guys could even give you somewhere in the 8 to 10 to 14, 15 range, and you can still get production out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think that'll be a big difference. Also tonight, Jason Tatum had a terrible box score in the plus-minus percentages. He finished tonight with a minus 36. He had 4 turnovers, even though he did have the 28 points. And I think that's where I talked about last game, and I felt like he had his true kind of superstar game. He had his true outcoming game as the leader for this team whenever he didn't shoot the ball well, but he was still able to finish with 13 assists. Tonight, he was able to get the ball going into the hole, but his teammates around him just couldn't get it going neither. And I feel like that's in a situation where you kind of need to talk to them on the sideline, tell them just to keep shooting. Don't be afraid to take shots. Like I said, I'm just speaking from the outside looking in. I don't know what was being said in huddles and in locker rooms, but the role players around them just didn't seem aggressive. Jaylen Brown kept shooting, just wasn't able to get shots to fall. So I think Boston's going to be fine. Anything or like any basketball analysis and any basketball fan and player that knows this, you know that you're going to have your ups and your downs and you're going to have your unicorn games. So like game 1 was a unicorn game. You know for a fact you weren't going to get 65 points from Smart, Horford, and Derek White every single game of this series. You knew that coming into it, and that just happened to be an anomaly. Draymond Green even spoke on it in the post-game conference after game 1. But you also do need to get at least a little bit of production out of them to be successful going forward and moving on into the series. Now, moving on to the Golden State Warriors side of things, like I said, they just took over in the second half. But the main thing that stood out for me for the Golden State Warriors tonight was absolutely Draymond Green. Draymond Green came out and set the tone from the word go. He got the tech right off the bat early in the first quarter, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think it is something that you do have to watch for the rest of the game, as teams will know that you have the tech and will try and go at you. We saw that a little bit in the second quarter between Jaylen Brown and Draymond Green when they got into the little scuffle. But I feel like if you can get you a tech right off the way, it's kind of like in football when your coach says, you know what, go out here and set a false start and just run the center over or set the tone, get the encroachment or offsides penalty, just kind of set the tone. And I feel like he did that. On his drives to the basket, he was aggressive. He didn't look like he was scared to go to the free throw line, even though he hasn't been shooting the ball well from the free throw line in the playoffs and the finals. He came out with the held ball on the literal first possession of the game, got the crowd into it. Draymond Green, for me, is probably my player of the game tonight besides Jordan Poole for the Warriors, just because he came out and I think he knew that he didn't play up to his standards and he didn't play to a level that he wanted to after game 1. He saw that, made the adjustment, and got back to playing his brand of basketball, that nitty-gritty Draymond that we all know and love on the basketball floor, a player that you love to have on your team. And so I think with him setting the tone tonight, it was easier for guys like Steph and Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney to just come out and do their job, knowing that Draymond was locked in and he was ready to go tonight. One person that I do want to point out as a little bit of a question mark as for right now is, what are we going to get out of Klay Thompson in this final series? I think if the Warriors can get Klay Thompson going, which I think Mark Jackson alluded to it in the actual game, he said that I think that's the main reason Klay was still out on the floor, in the fourth quarter after they were up by like 25-30 and the game was already put away. It's just you kind of want Klay to see shots going in. And I feel like between him and Jordan Poole, there's kind of this question mark of can they play together? And so I think having them on the floor together late in the game when the game was already decided and them just seeing shots go through was big for them. So if the Warriors can get Clay going, I think the Celtics might be in a little bit of trouble just because I think we're going to get a locked in Draymond for the rest of the series. I think Draymond understands what he put out prior to the finals and as well as in game one isn't going to be acceptable. You aren't going to be able to win a championship with the way he was playing. So I think he's going to stay aggressive. And I don't know if he'll be able to match the exact same energy that he gave tonight, but you will for sure see a 100% locked in Draymond Green for the rest of these finals. And so I think Jordan Poole, watching him be able to dish off some dimes tonight, like I said, the half-court three was crazy, him seeing some buckets go through the rim. And one thing that I've noticed about Jordan Poole is I didn't know if he was a pure scorer or if he was more of like a microwave kind of guy and he heats up over time. And he is 1,000% a microwave guy. When Jordan Poole sees 2 or 3 go to the bucket, it's wraps. There's no way to slow him down. I mean, after he hit the half-court shot, he came back out in the fourth quarter, had a nice little pull-up from about the free throw lane. He had another like 2 threes in the quarter. He was making some nice passes. So he's definitely a microwave. He's definitely a guy that you want to see locked in. And so all you need is all you need from him is to see a few go through the rim, and that completely changes up the narrative for the rest of the game for him. And honestly, this game could have been much worse for the Celtics. The Warriors missed a lot of wide open layups. I know I talked about Steph missing a few in game one, but they did miss a lot in game two as well. So with them still being able to win by double digits and not even playing as sharp of basketball as we're used to seeing them play, I think was big for them. And I think that'll be the story going forward is them just playing their brand of basketball. I do want to see them get a little bit more offensive movement and offensive of paralysis going while they're on the ball, because it does seem like a bunch of one-on-one. But like I said, when I was talking about the Celtics and their defense, they were able to beat the Celtics defenders, whether that be Derek White or Marcus Smart or whoever they had guarding them on the perimeter, beat that guy, forced the help to come over, and were able to dump off for dishes, for assists. So I think that'll be big. I think that'll be key. Whenever that's getting going, you don't necessarily have to make your offense play all the way through. But like I said, when you're having to guard guys like Steph and Clay in the pick and roll, it's really, really, really tough. So closing out this recap tonight, I think heading back to Boston, this was a loss that, of course, the Celtics did not want, but if they wanted to take one, I think that this was exactly where they needed to take it and exactly in the manner in which they needed to lose. I don't want to say that they thought the series was going to be any easier. They knew that the Warriors were going to come back out and play hard and play like their backs were against the wall, rightfully so in game two. But I think when you're just thinking about it and actually seeing it is two completely different things. So I think that heading back to Boston, they're finally back in the finals. They've had a lot of big Eastern Conference Finals games there. But finally being back in Boston, and those fans are going to be crazy. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are all going to be hyped up. I think that's going to be big for them. And then for the Warriors side of the ball, I think that the main thing that I want to pay attention to with them is going to be the role players. The role players, like I said, they played good tonight. But for me, I think it'll be even more important on the road because I don't think Steph will still play the same way he's played at home on the road. So I think guys like Draymond and him keeping his intensity, Jordan Poole getting Clay going, Kevon Looney shot 6 for 6 tonight. So I think him and the role players around him are going to be big for the Warriors while they're on the road. So I'm excited to see what happens in games 3 and 4. Like I said, this series is going to be great. It's already starting off great. And, we're just going to go from there. So that'll end tonight's recap show. It was really, really quick. Not too much, like I said. Both teams, or the Celtics didn't play as well and the Warriors did. So that's really what I wanted to come on here and talk about tonight. Like I said, if you guys do want to connect with me and talk about anything basketball, especially while the finals are going on, please follow me on Twitter at Kalen Vasher Show, as I'm really, really active during the games, and that's probably where you'll catch me most. But until game 3, I'll see you guys then. Peace.